Hello, fellow reloaders. Professor P here, and we are working on part 4 of our little 38 special project. I am using the same process each time to ensure some consistency, so I'm cleaning a bunch of 38 special cases. This is wet cleaning, little Dawn dish soap, and some Lemmy Shine crystals to knock back the hard water. I am using the stainless pens to help get those cases clean, and just kind of speeding through that process since this is exactly what we did before. It doesn't take a lot of the Lemmy Shine, just a spoonful, and if you don't have hard water, you may not need it at all, but I find it helps a lot. Somehow got just exactly enough water in there. Take it out to the garage, throw it on the cleaner, and clean it. See all that dust on the floor? Yep, that's from media cleaning. Again, those are banned to the concrete in the basement or in the garage forever. Do have to separate the stainless media. I typically can pour it on the screen right here and then use a magnet to pick up the difference when I need to. The nice thing about the stainless pens, of course, is if you drop any around, you can use the magnet to pick them up. And you can see the markings on the head stamp, same markings that I used previously. Nice and clean on the insides of the cases. Wet cleaning does a wonderful job. So we'll just speed right on through the cleaning here. This is that first opportunity you have to really inspect the cases. I do look at the primers when they come out, make sure that we don't have any pressure issues. Then as I go through them here, I do take that opportunity to inspect every case and look for sort of those obvious defects if you have splitting on the case mouth or something like that. Good time to do your first initial visual inspection. Now that I've got my writing turret press back over here next to the spot where I sit in this old bench, I am setting that up, just using a standard set of dies, nothing special about these at all. Get them set up and we'll do the decapping here. Again, this is a carbide set of dies, so if you're watching closely, I do back that die off a little bit. Been doing it for a while, so I'm very comfortable with how far to back that die off, just so you're not ramming the face of the shell holder up into the die. You don't want to damage it. So you can see here I'm testing it, backed it off a little bit more until I'm happy with it, and then we'll decap one and see if it fits in the case checker okay. And I always check every case as soon as they come out of the case checker. If you've got an issue, it's a good time to spot it. That looks good. And this is a good idea as part of the case inspection. At this point, I will check the lengths on the cases. Different brands will have different lengths to them out of the box. You do see the 1.145 to 1.455 standard. The case length, even in a revolver case, is somewhat important, especially if you're going to do a roll crimp, because when you go to do that roll crimp, if there are a lot of variation in the cases, your roll crimp will be inconsistent. So I do like to make sure that they're all reasonably close to each other, all of them within spec, of course, and then I will pull out the Winchester cases I'm using in this case and double check and make sure they're all the right length. Occasionally you do have to trim them. And here I'm checking the sizes of the primer pockets with a primer pocket tool. And there were these Agula cases in there, and the primer pockets were all real tight. I did choose to use a different machine here for the dispensing. Notice here I am double checking the calibration on the scale, so factory calibrate, and I do drop in some check weights for that. If you don't have one of these should be on your upgrade list at some point. They do make the loading a whole lot quicker because you can do a lot of stuff while it's doing the dispensing and you're not playing with your trickler. And I did prime with the same Winchester small pistol primers. Nothing unusual about that step. I did prime them all first so that I can mark the head stamps and get a card set up that tells me what is where. Next, of course, is to bell the case mouth and bell it just enough so that you can get that projectile to stick in the case properly. And you should hear a little pop when you pull it out. Aluminum static-free funnel, always good to have. And again, something I really want to drive it home is don't let that projectile, that partially loaded case now, out of your reach. I do get a seating die set up right away, and I at least seat the projectiles with my fingers. If not, go ahead and put them through. Keep in mind, one of the largest risks you'll ever run is double powdering a case because there's just a little bit of powder in these cases relative to the case volume. Get them all loaded. After I've got them all seated, I do come back and crimp them. If I find that a case is a little short, I may have to go back and crimp. 38 Special does need a roll crimp, but it doesn't have to be a severe roll crimp. This is not a heavy 44 Magnum, so. Lastly, check. Make sure that it still goes into your case checker well. And they're all loaded up, and we are ready to go off to the range. So this is one of my preferred ranges to shoot at. It's a little higher in elevation from where I live, and the day I was up here shooting, it was a 100-degree day. Hot, very, very hot. And so this range has shade. It also has RSOs and a very safe feeling environment for all of the shooters that I work with. And this was the actual testing of those 38 Specials, and I'm braced down low and shooting from basically a fixed position, resting on a sandbag, trying to give the ammo the fairest possible test. And that was an RSO. So first, I did, this is one of the cartridges that the beginners group agreed to try to replace. So this was the Hornady American Gunner 125 grain XTP. So I finally found those, able to get some data on those. Also, I had wanted to replace these, didn't like either grip. This was hard plastic, and it's actually really kind of slippery in front. And this was just really small compared to my hands. So shout out to these folks. Able to find a grip there, and we're empty, of course. Wonderful grip, absolutely wonderful grip. Great fit in my hand. Palm's got nice contact all the way down. Fingers are wrapped around. I'm right in that grip. Very nice. So very comfortable now. That grip is not an issue. Nice to eliminate that from consideration. Also, I did take this old Smith out. So this is my older model, or 36, and this gun's always shot very, very well, but I don't shoot this for testing a whole lot. Just simply means something to me, and I don't want it to get damaged, so don't put it at risk. We did take this out, shot our test loads, and have some results. Also shot some other factory stuff. So let's look at that here and see what it looks like. So here we had first, this was the Rock Island pistol with the Hornady factory load. So 125 grain XTP factory load, 4-inch group on it. Still pushing a little left in this one, but a 4-inch group. I did revisit some of the ones that didn't shoot well, This target right here with the shots over here is that Agula 130 grain FMJ ammo, and it shoots far left in this pistol. How do I know that? Well, I'll insert a picture of that same ammo shot through at the same distance, slightly different shape of target, and it shot great through the Smith. So the Rock Island does not like that Agula ammo. And then what's interesting is this is the Smith & Wesson with the Hornady ammo, smaller group size. Again, got a nice velocity out of it. Very on par with what we'll see we did with the 3.1. But again, fairly large group size with that Hornady. It's really interesting because it begins to make me wonder if the short barrel pistols do not like that Hornady bullet as well as they do some of the others. I'm expecting 2-inch groups, give or take, 2.5-inch groups. Okay, let's set that aside. Let's look at our actual loads, and these were the counts from this time. So 4.7 grains, pushing hard left again. Speed 2.8. Again, the group sizes aren't horrible for, you know, a little snub-nosed pistol at 10 yards. Speed's a little bit low, so the lowest velocity had the farthest left push. And again, this is with the new grip, so I'm beginning to suspect it's not me. So 4.8 grains, still pushing a little bit left, clear over into the other target. 3.5-inch group, 768 on the speed. Up to 4.9 grains. Again, group right in that 3.5-inch range, pushing left still, but we're not down so low. Up at 5 grains, we're coming towards center. One shot out here to the left, but we're starting to push a little bit in towards the center with that increased velocity at 5 grains. The last target, 5.1 grains and 793 feet per second. So the fastest velocity by far. I knew I pushed this shot, but look at this group here. A little easier if I pull this one out of the way. Perhaps this 125 grain, it needs to be faster. But it's really interesting that this fastest set is actually shot a whole lot better in terms of accuracy. Counted this one in the group size. If we didn't count that one, we're still at the 3.3, give or take, inch group. Not super happy with the W231 and 125 grain. All right, let's look at the velocities and let's see what it looks like on the chart. And so here we have a quick look at the speeds from our last set. I did add a horizontal line for the 125 grain Hornady American Gunner. Notice that speed was the lowest of the 125 grain. I tested it at 808 feet per second. Again, all out of that Little Rock Island. My gut feel is that we are the top load combination of projectile and the W231 powder. So at most I would probably stop here. Just not comfortable to say that W231 with the 125 grain Hornady will break that 800 foot per second. Something to really consider is, did I pick the right powder? And in this case, probably not. Consider that combination we did pick should have been on the Hodgkins line, but it did fall in on the Lyman line. Here, we do have what looks to be probably a node where the additional powder doesn't necessarily drive that velocity forward. Keep in mind, Lyman is testing with a 4-inch. It's entirely possible that the 4-inch would 50 feet per second, give or take, and we would be very much in line with that. So I am going to try some other powders, of course, and probably retreat to a powder that yields a little bit, probably something that's a little bit faster than the W231. But we'll see. It'll make that a subject of the next video. Net effect is we do have a reasonably nice progression in here. We've been able to load that XTP, 125 grain XTP with W231.